Yeah, I get it. I mean, you said from a South Africa perspective, I mean, traditionally, right? In
Yeah,
South Africa is traditionally another market for most brands. It's never head
yeah,
office, but in your instance, it's head office, and you sit from head office in essence, and directing the marketing and how the message comes across on the other side. And you mentioned that empathy is at the heart of an idea. Now, I once heard something like this, where someone said to me that Nando's advertising is built around the underdog, right? You
right,
take the
okay,
side of the underdog in your communication, right? I mean,
right,
if it's true, do you do it here only,
yeah.
or do you do it across the world as a template?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question. Um, I, I don't. I think we perhaps act like an underdog more than we take, an underdog perspective. You
Okay.
understand, like Nando's was started in 1987, and it was two friends who went out for lunch in Rosettenville, and Robbie Brosen and Fernando Duarte uh, kind of had a vision which is still true today, which is you know, people should want to work for a business, not have to work for a business.
Mm, mm,
And if you and it's the people who really make the chicken that matter. Because if you look after your employees, the chicken's going to be good, and if the chicken's good, the customer's happy. And if the customer's happy, you'll have sales. And that it's weirdly antithetical that a lot of other brands see it the other way around. Is you try to keep the bank manager happy, and then you fit everything into what that means. So how do you maximize sales, and then find a customer way of doing that? And uh, I think that does give us, to some degree, I suppose, an underdog status. We also, in the early days,
mm,
famously, Robbie went to then Hunt Lascaris and said, "Look, I don't have any, we don't have a huge amount of money to pay you. We don't have the big KFC, Steers media budgets, but what we have is bravery and courage. So we're happy for you to take creative risks and use our brand to build your name, and we'll go with you on that." Whereas a lot of brand managers, I know I was one, are incredibly sensitive and protective of their brand, and it's well motivated.
mm, mm.
But these guys were just crazy. So in the early 90s, we had these like really brave, crazy advertising ideas, which are now kind of familiar to people, and that is acting like an underdog. Now, in the context that you asked now in South Africa and broadly across the rest of the world, what we try to do is we are passionate about being a South African brand and being the best part of South Africa and representation. So
Mm,
South Africa, when it's at its best, this is 1 and 1 is 3, and
mm,
this idea that, geez, like I can't think of another country in the world that has so many different social contexts that we have. And we have to,
mm,
and a lot of that is very painful and causes enormous amounts of discomfort. But a
mm,
lot of the time we get stuff right, and we get together and we can
yeah,
and we make a plan. It's
yeah.
not just the Boers who make a plan, like we all make a plan. Uh, so
Did you just say
yeah, sure. No,
that?
no. So what we're looking for really isn't so much the underdog. What we're looking for is unity. Like, what's the thing everyone can agree on?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like we often get petitioned to have a point of view on a social matter, and often we don't have one. So, like, for example, like fees must fall, for example, like the right to higher education, should be far more prevalent than it is. And higher education
yeah,
as a opportunity for employment is like an economic truth. So we
yeah.
agree with this, but massive civil unrest and burning down the higher education institutions as a voice to be heard, that's not great. That's not the perhaps the most constructive
Mm,
way to solve that issue. So
mm,
it's hard for Nando's to comment where it's not clear on what the consensus is, and what we're always looking for is
yeah,
truth. Like some people have said, well, we're anti-government. Like not all. Like we are so pro-government. It's crazy. Like because what we want is what the government wants,
mm,
which is for everyone to win
mm,
and everyone to be better off. But when the
mm,
government or certain people don't act in the public interest, It's not our perspective. All we're doing is giving voice to like millions and millions and millions of other people's voices on that matter. So it's not that we're saying we're not creative at all. We don't say anything that hasn't been said. We just say it in our own way. And I suppose the best Nando's advertising is when people go, ain't that so? That's what John Hunt said to me when I started Nando's. Like the key for a good Nando's ad is when people go, yeah, ain't that so? Like you've said what we've all been thinking. You've just said it in a way that's really kind of catchy and smart. So that's actually what we're looking for. And we'll do that. You know, we've just finished, for example, a season in Ramadan in the Middle East. So what on earth does a South African chicken brand have to say about a really profound religious festival? Well, you know, when you break fast, why not break fast with the best plain grilled peri peri chicken in the world? So there's a business reason for us to kind of participate with that. And you talk to young people in the Middle East, and they enjoy Ramadan, and because it gives them connection to their culture and to their parents and their grandparents and their ancestors, not unlike South Africans have connections to their roots as well. But they are going to enjoy this Ramadan season on social media. They're going to, break fast their own way. They still want to hang out with their mates. So if you can display a degree of empathy with that, because what most brands will just do is like, to all our Muslim customers, have a blessed fast. Like, and that's what everyone says, whether you're a hotel or a bank or a food brand. But what we wanted to try do, and we do every year, is to try and stretch a little bit. So like, really, how do you feel about this time? And how can we as a brand show up in a way to make this thing better for you? So the hero, again, it's not us. It's not us. It's you. It's the customer.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's really cool. And what you just said is, I mean, the brand is a very bold brand, right? And so how do you almost balance, being bold and not going over the edge? Where you don't want to just, you don't want to be normal, but then for me, the Nando's brand is so powerful that it actually controls part of societal conversation, right? If you release an ad, it's going to be mentioned in society, It's a very powerful brand, and you have to be really bold to achieve that, right? But how do you ensure you don't jump off the cliff in the boldness?
Oh man, I wish I knew. I promise you, every time we release any kind of creative, the night before I don't sleep. I feel really anxious about it, and I think exactly that. So I feel really vulnerable. Like there's no guarantee at all. The harshest critics of Nando's creative work are Nando's people, Nando's employees. So that's a good barometer. Like they'll tell you straight away, like the ad's cuck. It's not as good as it was in the old days. We've got franchisees who've been with us for more than 30 years. Like they'll be brutally honest, which also means like if it's good, they'll say it's good. So that does help. Sure, it's interesting. We've had a couple of new people join our marketing team this year, and as part of the kind of onboarding, they're kind of going through the Nando's catalog of work and things that we've done, and if you look at the ads that we are most criticized for, it's not the ones that were too bold or too fiery or went like too far. The ones that didn't work were the boring ones, the way we didn't push hard enough. Those are the ones that people are like, oh, come on, Nando's, we expected better. Which is so like we're a lot more afraid, I suppose, of that than we are of potentially taking things too far. Our role isn't to offend. We don't seek controversy. Controversy as a word means you are divisive. And we're looking for the opposite. What we want is unity. Now, when South Africans think of unity, they tend to think of like painting the flag on your cheek and singing Shosholoza and like, fairly facile surface levels of unity. But unity can also mean, putting up with difficult people. So it's like, during COVID-19, like the lockdown, now, we could see the lockdown coming because we have restaurants in the Northern Hemisphere. So we saw this thing 2 or 3 months before it actually came here. And so the South African lockdown on Nando's was the hardest of any of the 23 countries there are in the world. Like, we couldn't trade at all, man. Like, for 2 months, we couldn't do any, at least in Europe and the States, we could still trade with delivery or to some degree, social distancing, appropriate takeaways. But South Africa, we couldn't do anything. So what do you do as a brand for 2 months? And what we did was we made it was called a COVID dictionary. We couldn't call it that because Twitter would shut it down. So we called it lockdown lingo, where we just looked at like how everyday South Africans were experiencing what we were experiencing, which is like, thou shalt do nothing. And so, we like all these, the idea of ratting on a neighbor, the tunny who phones the police because they saw the person walking the dog at 1 minute past 9. Now, that's not a Nando's perspective. Like, we see that shit happening all the time in WhatsApp groups and on social media. So for us to kind of, to have a view on that isn't bold. That's not difficult, but that's just us, playing back to people what we've already seen. Similarly, like all the rage, I suppose the week before last was like South Africa was finally going to buy soap. They can finally go buy their liquor, right? And so we kind of assumed that most of Mzansi were going to have a babalas, like a proper babalas, like an epic one, on a Tuesday. So,
which a lot did.
So to say to people, listen, we hear that you may well have a babalas. Now, one of the many benefits of our signature ingredient, peri peri, is it's got capsaicin in it, which is what gives it the burn, which is also anti-inflammatory. So it actually really does help you with the babalas. And we know this because we often see people come into the restaurant at like early in the morning and like, wow, we need like extra hot quarter quickly. So we kind of, just said to people, kind of enjoy. Now, like, is that bold or brave to make an ad about a babalas? I don't know. So one thing we did do is we didn't publish that ad on the Tuesday because Blackout Tuesday happened. So, that would have been, well, everyone's Blackout Tuesday, we're going, here's a babalas cure. That probably would have been, not reading the room right, So, we only published that ad on Friday when people couldn't buy liquor anymore. So they're enjoying, the last Puza Thursday until this Puza Thursday. Hopefully what people are getting from this is like, there's no formula, there's no certainty if that's what you're after. Like, there is like trial and error, and like the ad was ready to go, it was there, it was a thing. In fact, it actually leaked onto the internet, but that's a different story. So like, we're still learning and figuring this out. And I suppose if I can give any encouragement to people, it's like, be human about it. Don't hide behind research or the data. Make plans, but be prepared to change them as well. So, it's been good.
Yeah. It's interesting that you come from a financial background in my next comment. One guy who ran a really successful South African stockbroking firm once said to me, his secret to investing was just follow the market. Don't try and define, don't try and defy the market. Just follow the direction that the market is going. And that's his secret to investments. At some point, he ran the biggest brokerage firm in the country. And what you're saying is almost the same thing, but from a marketing perspective. Just follow the conversation. Don't just glide with the conversation.
Well, the clue's in the title, man. It's called marketing. The market is kind of important. I don't mean to be facetious about that, but like, really. And I think what a lot of like young creative people is, they want to make a stamp on the world, and that's a good thing. They want to make a difference, and that's a good thing. But as a result, what happens is they put the brand in the front of it instead of responding to the market. And I think that's a mistake. No, don't be.
Sorry about that. One minute, please.
No problem.
Just a little bit of some technical problems that we just need to solve quickly.
Hey.
And solve. Eureka.
Right, okay. It's been an ocean of compassion for technical issues. Jeepers. These things are.
Yeah. And there's something that I pick up about you in this conversation, Dag. You are Nando's. I mean, your personality is Nando's. Like, that's what we see on the ads. Okay. And if everyone agrees with me, please just hit like a yes. Just type in a yes in the comments.
No, don't
Because
do
it
that.
almost,